And hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is, of course, the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and this is episode 301 of the Movie Pit Podcast. In terms of movie news, again, the numbering is really weird, and I'm not going to bring that up every time. I'm just going to bring it up now. So hello, this is the Movie News Roundup, of course, where we talk about all of the big movie news items that have come out this week. We also talk about the big trailers that came out this week, and we will talk about the movies that are out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures this weekend. And oh boy, this weekend is going to be very interesting. But before we get to all that, obviously we got to talk about the movie news, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about that big news item that dropped this week, right here on Valentine's Day of all days. Hopefully, all of you had a very wonderful and happy Valentine's Day or Single Awareness Day. I joined the latter half of that phrase, but anyway, we're gonna talk about it. But before we get to that, we gotta talk about the other stuff. I was originally gonna talk about the Super Bowl trailers. However, I feel like everything has been already said about those Super Bowl trailers. They were all pretty good. There was the new Despicable Me teaser that came out. That was fine, using kind of like AI generated stuff, and it turned out to be the Minions. There was a Kung Fu Panda 4 trailer that dropped, and I like the other Kung Fu Panda movies. I just feel like 4 is not doing it for me. Like everything that we've seen. So, I mean, there's honestly hasn't been much. But from what we've seen, it's not really doing it for me. And that's kind of big because, I mean, this is obviously a very big franchise, and it's gotten movies, and I think it's gotten a TV show, merchandise like crazy. But this movie's coming out in a few weeks. It's coming out in not beginning of March, like the second week of March. That's very soon. And we're not really getting a lot of promotion yet. I mean, I'm sure once we get closer, maybe even after this week, obviously the Super Bowl, a lot of eyes were on it. So, that is one of the biggest things you can do. But at the same time, it's like, you guys got to start repping up this marketing machine because, if it wasn't for the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody would know, and people who don't look at release schedules would know this movie was coming out this week, or coming out in a few weeks. So there is that, but we'll get to that. Quiet Place, day one, they released that trailer, during the week, so everyone kind of saw that. Of course, the big trailer that everyone was talking about, Deadpool and Wolverine. What else can be said? That is, it was great. It was a great trailer. Everyone's talking about it, and the gun scene where the slow-mo where he's reloading his guns, that was really cool. I'm really excited for it. It is basically a first trailer, really, kind of a teaser, if you want to call it that. So we're not going to get too into it, but I did really enjoy it. The Twisters trailer came out, the first trailer for that came out as well. That looks pretty cool. Glenn Powell, I mean, he's going to be a big superstar. It feels like it. Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You, obviously still kind of killing at the box office right now. He's got this, and he's got Hitman, which everyone really loved at the film festivals. That's going to come out later this year. I think he's in something else that comes out this year, but I can't remember what it is. But I'm sure he's coming out something else. But he's gonna be making some bank, especially this year. So there you go. But again, a lot of stuff has already been said about those trailers. I don't want to add to the conversation so late, but I really did enjoy a lot of those trailers. I still don't like the fact that, hey, here's a 30-second clip, a condensed version of the trailer. Go watch the trailer online. I don't know. It's like, I don't want to divvy my focus, but that's just, I don't know. I know why they do it, but at the same time, it's like, just, it could be 30 seconds. That's fine. You don't have to, that's just me. All right. So let's get to the movie news before I keep rambling on and on. First movie news tidbit we're going to talk about is Masters of the Universe. There's been a big update on that. The long in the works live action adaptation of Masters of the Universe, aka He-Man, for those who don't know it by that name. Got another big update this week. Travis Knight, the Lenka CEO and part-time filmmaker, is in early talks to direct the movie for Amazon MGM Studios. Knight will not just direct if he does actually sign the deal. He's only in talks right now. But he will also co-write the script with his Lenka collaborator who has worked with him on his films like Paranorman and Kubo and the Two Strings. Kubo and the Two Strings was actually Travis Knight's first directorial effort, his other directorial effort was Bumblebee. So he's got a pretty good track record in terms of movies. Both of them very, very good. So he's co-writing that script with Chris Butler. I forgot to mention that. Chris Butler is the man who's going to be co-writing the script, I believe, with Knight. It sounds from the reports that Knight will be co-writing the script. There's already a script written, so it looks like they're going in and changing stuff for themselves and, to make, it easier for them to do it. I like Travis Knight, like I mentioned. Kubo and the Two Strings, very, very good. Bumblebee was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And he obviously has a very good grasp of live action so far, but also animation and stop motion. And obviously he's handling another, property that was very popular in the 80s with He-Man. So I think I think he's a pretty decent choice. I mean, they've been working on trying to do this He-Man movie for so long. And I know there were like multiple versions at one point, and it's just the fact that this thing has been taking so long. It's just odd to me because obviously He-Man's still kind of in the public conscience in a lot of it. There's the Netflix series that Kevin Smith is doing on Netflix, which was very good, very enjoyable. At least, at the very least, very enjoyable. I think it's good, but at the very least, it's enjoyable. So He-Man, Masters of the Universe, still in the public eye, public domain, if you will, conscience rather, not domain. So the fact that they haven't done like a live action one in a while is kind of odd. They had the old one, the Dolph Lundgren one from, was it the early 80s or something like that? I mean, I hope this comes to fruition because I know Travis Knight has been on a short list for a lot of other projects, and they either never go through or he's never, been signed on. So I hope that he kind of gets this because I think it would be kind of cool. If he can handle Transformers, he can more than handle He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Obviously, that opening of Bumblebee, just give him anything 80s because he perfectly understands it. So that's just me. But we'll go from there. All right. So obviously the big movie news item that came out this week was, of course, it dropped on Valentine's Day. Marvel Studios dropped the cast for Fantastic Four, and it is pretty much the cast that has been rumored for quite a while. So we have Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby playing Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and Eben Moss Bacharach, I think I pronounced the last name wrong, as Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. Of course, Ebon Moss from The Bear. He plays, I forgot his name, Richie. There you go. So they made it official. They are the Fantastic Four. They've been rumored for a while. It was probably one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood because everyone kind of knew that they were cast, and a lot of it was like, well, maybe they're not. Who knows? But no, they indeed were. Matt Shankman, who was, of course, the director for WandaVision, he is directing Fantastic Four off the script by Josh Friedman, Jeff Kaplan, and Ian Springer. I believe they've also worked on other Marvel projects. I didn't have that in front of me. I'm sorry about that. But obviously, that's some pretty big news. They also dropped a really cool promo picture where it was the cast. It was them. It was Pedro and Vanessa Kirby and Quinn and Ebon, all as their characters, kind of like hanging around with says Happy Valentine's Day. It's very cool. It's very retro. It looks like the 60s. And a lot of people, because of that picture, were saying that maybe the movie is set in the 60s or partially set in the 60s because of it. So I don't know if that's the case, but if it is the case, I think it'll be interesting if they do set it in the 60s. But, and then kind of, jump them forward. I mean, it would make sense, even if they weren't in the 60s or they were in the 60s and then all of a sudden they kind of jump forward into the present. It makes sense because obviously they're trapped in space and they can just go through a black hole of some sort. So that's pretty cool. But the other big thing for Fantastic Four is they changed the release date, and they actually swapped release dates with Thunderbolts, both coming out next year still. So Thunderbolts will now come out on May 2nd. So it's coming out a little sooner than expected. It was originally supposed to come out on July 25th to be more exact. But now Thunderbolts will come out on May 2nd and Fantastic Four will come out on July 25th. I think it was originally supposed to come out around Valentine's Day. Like, I think that was like the original release date they had, and then they kept moving it back and everything like that. So the release date change makes sense. I mean, the cast is now official. They haven't started filming yet, but they're just kind of doing what they're doing. So this is really cool. I mean, obviously it's a reboot of the Fantastic Four. We already had the Fox Fantastic Four movies come out, and this is Marvel's first family, and we're finally getting them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it will be interesting to kind of see kind of what role they end up playing in the MCU. That would be kind of cool to see. But I'm excited for it. The cast, like I mentioned, they've been rumored to have been cast for a while now, and honestly, I don't mind the cast. I think the cast is great. I think Vanessa Kirby's great. Vanessa Kirby from what's great? I want to say the White Queen, but that's not true. I don't think that's her name, because the White Queen is an X-Men character. Who does she play? I can't remember who she played. Not the White Lotus. That's the show. I can't remember. She's in the Mission Impossible movies, the latest ones. She was also in Hobbs and Shaw. She played the unknown Shaw sibling that we didn't know about until the movie. She's been in quite a few stuff recently, so I think that's her. More mainstream fans will probably know her from. But she's been in a lot of dramas too, and she's very good at them. She was in Napoleon. She played Napoleon's wife. I don't know why I forgot about it. I think I just try to forget about Napoleon. Joseph Quinn, like I mentioned, from Stranger Things, the last season of Stranger Things, he played Eddie, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff coming out after that. He's going to be in Quiet Place Quiet Place Day 1, rather. Yvonne's great. He's been in a bunch of stuff. For some reason, everyone just remembers him from The Bear now, because he's just so good in The Bear as Richie. I forgot he played Micro in the Punisher series. The Netflix one. He played Micro in season 1. I totally forgot that was him. And I was just looking through back and what else has he been in? And he was Micro, and I totally forgot about that. He's been in a bunch of other stuff too. But recently, obviously, everyone's going to remember him as Richie from The Bear. And then there's Pedro Pascal, obviously one of the biggest stars in Hollywood right now. The Last of Us, just Game of Thrones, and everything else that he's been a part of. And I love Pedro as much as the internet. Everyone loves Pedro. He would not be my first choice for Reed Richards. And I know the next question probably you're thinking of, or will come out of your mouth. Who would you say? I honestly don't know. Obviously, we had Joseph Kosinski in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which he played perfectly. Now, honestly, that was kind of fan casting, because everyone has kind of wanted him to play Reed Richards, and that would have been really cool if he came back and played Reed Richards. But we got Pedro Pascal, and again, we love Pedro, and a lot of people have always said this about Pedro Pascal. He's like, really, Pedro Pascal, for Joel in The Last of Us? Granted, I never played the games, but one of the common things coming out when he was cast for The Last of Us was that he is not really Joel. And then everyone saw the series, and they all shut up, because it's oh, no, yeah, he's actually really good as Joel. So I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic, he's one of those characters I think, I don't know if everyone understands, mainstream audience doesn't understand. Obviously he's kind of one of those characters, he's always trying to cure his friends. He's trying to cure, especially Ben, because he turns into the Thing, and, he kind of feels responsible for that. And of course, he meets his wife in Sue Storm, and obviously Johnny comes along for the ride as well. And he's one of those characters. He wants to find a cure for them, and he wants to do good by them, and he wants to be a good person. But he's also kind of an ass. And I don't know if we've seen that really yet portrayed in the movies that we've gotten so far. But it would be interesting if they go that route, and I think Pedro can do that fine balance of being a loving husband, because that's Reed Richards at the end of the day is a loving husband. He's just an ass a lot of the time, because he's so smart, and he knows he's the smartest person in the room. And I think Pedro can pull that off very, very perfectly. So not saying Pedro Pascal's an ass. I'm just saying he's that good of an actor. He can pull that off. So I like the casting. The casting is great. The thing with Pedro is he's one of those guys. I think Pedro's was one of those guys where everyone's he's too big of a name now because of The Mandalorian and because of Game of Thrones and now because of The Last of Us and even the Nick Cage movie that I'm blanking on right now, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, that he's such a big actor that it may be distracting for him to play Reed Richards a little bit. And I kind of find that true. And part of me honestly would have been okay if they went the unknown route, if they casted a bunch of people to play the Fantastic Four who maybe weren't as familiar. And, I can see the argument or the other side of it. It's like, well, Fantastic Four is a really big deal. You're going to need, people that audiences know to bring them in. And I get that. And that's true. But with a cast like this, I mean, it's going to be really hard to be like, this movie, everyone's like, oh, this movie's going to fail. It's like, no, it's not. You have a lot of big names in Hollywood, a lot of recognizable names, a lot of even if not names, faces. Pedro Pascal, obviously being the big one. Joseph Quinn with a certain audience. Yvonne with the TV crowd for The Bear. Vanessa Kirby, again, if anything, she's gorgeous. And I know always one of the common criticisms with the Fantastic Four is like, why would you cast a beautiful actress to play the Invisible Woman? But that's her power set. What else are you going to do? So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for this casting. I'm very interested in seeing what they do. Obviously, the Fantastic Four are a great group of characters, and they have a tremendous history in the comics. And it'll be very interesting to see how they fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how they push it forward. Obviously, the big thing is, they're always trying to go younger because they want, these characters to, they want the actors to be around for a while. And, Pedro Pascal's on the older side. A lot of them are on the older side. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see, how that plays out as well. But I'm all for it. I can't wait for it. So I'm game. A lot of people seem to be excited about it. So I will join in that excitement for everybody. So yeah, there you go. That's the news, everybody. Let us move on to the movies that are coming out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, let's talk about the movies coming out on streaming first. I've only found one. I could be wrong about this, but there was one that stuck out on the release schedule, and it's called Players. It's going to be on Netflix. And the synopsis reads like, so New York sports writer Mac has spent years devising successful hookup plays, and plays in quotes in the synopsis, with her friends, but when she unexpectedly falls for one of her targets, she must learn what it takes to go from simply scoring to playing for keeps. The movie stars Jenna Rodriguez as the character of Mac, Damian Wayans Jr., Lisa Koshy's in here, Joe Courtney's also in here, along with Tom Ellis, who played Lucifer in the series Lucifer. I saw a trailer for this, I think when it first dropped, and it looked okay. It looked kind of funny. I don't know if it's going to be something that I end up watching, but it's Valentine's Day weekend. You need a rom-com. There you go. You got that going for you. All right. So speaking of movies, these movies are already out because they came out on Valentine's Day in the middle of the week. So we have very quickly Bob Marley, One Love, and Madam Web. So when it comes to Bob Marley, One Love, I've heard some things that it's not a great biopic. Even though the movie did have the okay and the advisement of the Marley estate and his children, which is great, because obviously you want that in a biopic about one of the biggest known singers in the world. But I heard that it's not that great of a biopic, and it only really kind of focuses on a few years of his life and stuff like that. So I don't know. I might still go watch it. I wasn't really rushing to the theater to watch Bob Marley. I don't know a lot of his music, obviously, except for the big major ones that we all know. But we'll see about that. And then Madam Web. Oh, Madam Web. The reviews have not been kind to Madam Web. I know there's a very small coalition out there, whether they're joking or whether they actually mean it, of being like, no, this movie's going to be good. Like, people are starting giving it a chance. I don't think so, because I think even the people who are who are like me, who tend to enjoy a lot of movies, are saying this movie is not good. So I have not watched it yet. I unfortunately probably will be watching it this weekend. I was going to go in anyway with zero expectations. And now I walk in with very, very to none, to just knowing that this movie is not going to be good. So maybe I'll have some more enjoyment out of it, knowing that this movie is not going to be as good as I didn't think it was going to be to begin with. So yeah, there's that. I know Dakota Johnson and the rest of the cast, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Marced, they've been going around and doing the press tours and trying to do a really good job of promoting this movie as much as they can. But especially Dakota Johnson, she wasn't having it. I don't know if she signed up for a different movie. I think she said that the script changed a lot from when she first saw it to what we see in the final product. I don't know. I can't speak any more about it other than, what I've seen online. And even then, I wasn't going and chasing Madam Web news. So I wasn't really excited for it. I think, so many pictures, man. They don't know when to quit. Everyone tells them your movies are not good. Your movies are not good because they don't have Spider-Man in them. And they just keep insisting, like, no, we're going to keep doing it whether you like it or not. So yeah, there you go. Madam Web, your big movie this weekend, along with Bob Marley, One Love, already out in theaters, obviously, and then Players on Netflix. This is going to be an interesting week. I once again will not have a review. I think I'm gonna wait on the February catch up for next month to talk to you guys about movies that I've watched. I watched Lisa Frankenstein. I haven't recorded my part for the catch up yet, but that was a movie that I appreciate what they were doing. Not the biggest fan of it, and so I will leave it at that to give you a little preview of what's to come early next month when we talk about the movies in February. Madam Web will probably be one of those. I don't want to say I'm going to do a Madam Web podcast by itself because I just hearing everything, and I am always one of those people that's like, I will not let any kind of hype. I won't let any whatever's going on reception of the movie affect my viewing when I go watch a movie. I want to go in there as clean as possible, just soak up the movie for what it is. Whether I think it's good, whether I'm hyped for it, whether I'm anticipating it, whether it's a movie I have zero expectations for, good and bad. But everything coming out of Madam Web is like, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I haven't even watched the movie yet. So I don't know. That's going to be painful to watch. But and again, movies are very hard to make. And I will come out saying at least one nice thing about the movie. That's what I want to do. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Very much appreciate it. And I look forward to next week with you guys. I think next week will be interesting because I'm actually going out of town. So I don't know if I'll drop the podcast earlier or if I will drop one of my already pre-recorded podcasts, which is a rewatch of something that I've done. And that was announced a long time ago. And I think I might be doing that for next week just because I don't know if I'll have time to record and edit properly a podcast, like a news roundup podcast, because I'll be going out of town at the end of the month. But I'll keep you guys updated, obviously, on the socials for that. But thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. Let me know what you guys thought on movie news. Are you okay with the Fantastic Four casting? Do you expect something else? Do you think it'll be good? Do you think it won't be good? Did you see Madam Web? What did you think of the movie? Let me know everywhere that you can comment on the socials. Links are all down below for in the description/show notes area where you can listen to the podcast on social media platforms and all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening. I will see you guys next time. Be good people, and as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!